जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनन्दन ब्रज जन रंजन। यशोदनन्दन ब्रज जन रंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। 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 जय सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान। सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान। प्रभुपाद 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 जय प्रभुपाद। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तरक श्रीमद् डिवाइन ग्रेस शिला भय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत गोस्वामी महाराज शिला प्रभुपाद की। इस्कॉन विपिट संस्थापकाचार्य शिला प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तरक श्रीमद् डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रीला भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य श्रील हरदास ठाकुर की। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद। श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड श्री गिरि गोवर्धन की। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र से जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की। अयोध्या धाम की। चित्रकूट धाम की। गंगा माई जमुना माई की। भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की। कलयुग पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन की। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की। शिला प्रभुपाद ट्रांसलेशनल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. On the occasion of Dashera, I will speak today on lessons from Ramayan. In the Ramayan written by Sri Valmiki, there is a description about the life and the teachings of Lord Ram. Dasharath Maharaj is the king of Ayodhya. The word Ayodhya means that which cannot be conquered by weapons. Dasharath Maharaj had an uninterrupted rule of the kingdom of Ayodhya for 60,000 years. He had opulence like no one had ever experienced. Several chapters of Ramayan describe the opulence of Ayodhya. But in spite of having all the opulence and queens in the form of Kaushalya, Kaikeyi and Sumitra and others, his biggest frustration was he did not have any progeny. This bothered him because the nature of the material world is, no matter how much we try, we cannot fulfill all our desires. And sometimes there are certain unfulfilled desires which haunt us. In the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is description of Chitraketu Maharaj. He married a queen, he could not get a son, he could not get any children, he married another queen, he married another queen, and he went on getting married. Ultimately, he married 10 million queens, 1 crore. He was the original crorepati, the original husband of 10 million queens. And finally, the sages came and said, you will get a son who will be known as Harsha Shoka. So that is the nature of life in this material world. Dasharath Maharaj is also in a similar situation. He doesn't have a son. So finally, thanks to the blessings of the great sage, he gets an auspicious sweet rice which he shares in different proportions with Kaushalya, Kaikeyi and Sumitra. And Lord Ram is born to Kaushalya. Lord Ram represents dharma, religious principles. Bharat is born to Kaikeyi. Bharat represents moksha. Muktir hitva anyatha rupam Swarupena Vyavasthiti. One who is dedicated to ultimately please the Lord's desire. Lakshman, he represents Artha. And so, the word Lakshman means Lakshmano Lakshmi Sampanno Bahirprana Ivapara Sarva Priyakarastasya Ramasya Pisharirata Lakshmano Lakshmi Sampanno Bahirprana Ivapara. When Lakshman sees Lord Ram, he sees his external life air walking. Bahir prana means life air which is outside. Most dear to Lakshman is Ram. So therefore, Lakshmano Lakshmi Sampanno. So the word Lakshman means one who is Lakshmi Sampanna, one who is filled with the opulence or Lakshmi of service to the lotus feet of Lord Ram. That is the real opulence, the opportunity to serve. Lakshmi Sampanna. The opportunity to serve is such a rare privilege that service should never be considered a burden. It is to be considered a rare privilege. Seva. And therefore, Lakshman is always looking for opportunities to engage in Lord Ram's service. When Lord Ram is instructed by Dasharath Maharaj on the conspiracy of Kaikeyi to go to the forest for 14 years, at that time, Lakshman is not instructed to go, but Lakshman immediately jumps forward and says, I have to go with you. Lord Ram says, the banishment to the forest is for me, not for you. And Lakshman says, Deeptim agnim jwalantam va yadi Rama pravekshati praveshtum tatra mam devi Tvam purvam avadharaya. If there is a raging forest fire, and I see Lord Ram going in that direction, I will enter that forest fire first, before Lord Ram, and make sure that the forest fire is extinguished, so that Lord Ram is not harmed. My service is unto the lotus feet of Lord Ram in every circumstance. Lakshman considers service to Lord Ram as his real opulence, real wealth. Therefore, he is known as Lakshmi Sampanna. People in this world are very desperate for Lakshmi, wealth, prosperity, money. And they feel that the most important requirement in life is to get this wealth. And we can give away all other values in exchange for wealth. But Ramayan is demonstrating something totally different. Lakshman is willing to forego the opulence of Ayodhya because he considers the opportunity to serve Lord Ram every moment as a greater treasure than all the comforts and opulences in the palaces of Ayodhya. So Ramayana is communicating to us the value of seva. Pragada premer ei swabhav achar nij dukha bignadir no kore bichar. And what is this seva, this service? It is without any selfish consideration, and that is known as love. So that opportunity to express love, service without selfish consideration to the Supreme Lord and His devotees is the greatest opulence, Lakshmi. And one who's always desiring and aspiring to earn that Lakshmi, the Lakshmi of seva. He is Lakshman. So Srila Prabhupada mentions in this Chaitanya Charitamrita purport that in every relationship there will be some scarcity, some impediment, some discomfort, some unhappiness. But in spite of all of this, if the relationship continues, it is called as love. So Lakshman was often challenged in various situations. Even though Lakshman had dedicated himself totally to serve the Lord 24/7, still, that service to Lord Ram was not without challenges. So Lakshman demonstrates that in order to serve, you need service attitude. And service attitude means humility. Service attitude means tolerance. Service attitude means willingness to sacrifice. Why? When you know that in return, I will get something which I cannot get in a million lifetimes. Love of God. So therefore, the future prospect of what we can possibly get gives us the power to tolerate difficulties and challenges, and then demonstrate our service attitude. In our temple in Chowpatty, when we would have big festivals, 2,000-3,000 devotees would come for the program. And they would all stand in prasadam, long line. And standing somewhere behind in the line, people would be in anxiety that by the time I reach the prasadam counter, will the prasadam still be there? Will I get it? But more anxiety is in the minds of the person who's serving. Because the server is thinking, I will get only after finishing all the serving. So sometimes the server starts giving out prasadam in lesser quantity, trying to save for himself. And people complain, hey, tell the server to serve properly, he is giving sabji like chutney. So what is the solution? We make a plate for the server in advance and keep it right next to the server. So as the server is serving, and if he gets doubt, he takes a glance at his plate. And by having darshan of his plate, he gets assured, if I continue serving, my future is bright. And then he starts serving with so much enthusiasm, he gives double. And people tell him, Arey, save something for yourself. And he says, Arey, Vaishnav Seva is real dharma. From where that enthusiasm comes? From knowing that if I tolerate all the difficulties and challenges in the course of this service, Lord Ram will take care of me. That was the confidence Lakshman had. And therefore Thakur Bhaktivinoda says, Tomar sevaya dukha hoye jata, sei to parama sukha, seva sukha dukha parama sampada, nashaye avidya dukha. While engaged in your service, my dear Lord, whatever difficulties and challenges I may go through, Saito Parama Sukha, that is the cause of my greatest pleasure. Seva Sukha Dukha Parama Sampada. Because whether I go through pleasure or distress while engaged in your service, the important thing is I am engaged in your service. That is my greatest sampatti. It is my greatest gain. And so, when Lord Ram, along with Lakshman and Sita, are banished to the forest, one of the first stops they make is in the forest where Guha, the tribal chief, hosts Lord Ram. Guha, being a person of the forest, does not have too much of luxury to offer. He offers Lord Ram some straw to sleep on the ground. Sita and Ram, without batting an eyelid, without making any complaint or comment, just accept that and go to sleep in moments. Lakshman sees that and his heart breaks. The personification of opulence, Lord Ram, one who has been sleeping in the palace on beds which are as soft as foam of a milk ocean, he is now sleeping on this hard ground. And the goddess of fortune is wearing the clothes of a forest dweller, and she's also sleeping on the floor. Lakshman's heart breaks. So Lakshman takes a sword in his hand and starts circumambulating Sita and Ram. Guha looks at Lakshman from a distance and sees Sita and Ram are sleeping. Why is Lakshman not sleeping? Why is Lakshman carrying a sword in his hand and circumambulating Sita and Ram? Guha gets a doubt. Looks like this Lakshman is an agent of Bharat and Kaikeyi. And not just satisfied with sending Ram to the forest, they seem to have plans to kill Ram in the forest, and they have engaged Lakshman to do that. Otherwise, why should he be carrying sword in the middle of the night and circumambulate Sita and Ram when nobody is around? Who told this to Guha? Nobody. He imagined it. He speculated it. And so Guha, he looks at this situation and he, out of his imagination, comes to a conclusion. It is my duty, it is my service to protect Sita and Ram from Lakshman's attack. And so, unknown to Lakshman, behind some trees, Guha stands with his bow and puts an arrow in the bow, pointing the arrow at Lakshman. As Lakshman is moving, Guha also is moving from behind, to make sure that any movement Lakshman tries to make, I will kill him. So Guha is imagining Lakshman to be a prospective killer of Lord Ram. Guha's soldiers, they look at Guha. One soldier asks another, "What is Guha doing?" The other soldier says, "Looks like he is not satisfied being king of the forest. He wants to kill Ram and become king of Ayodhya." So Guha's soldiers, they start discussing amongst each other that Guha is pointing the arrow towards Ram and wants to kill Ram. Who told them? Nobody. They imagined. This was their speculation. So one of the soldiers says, "I cannot allow Ram to be killed like this. I'm a devotee of Ram. We have to protect Ram." So they said, "Okay, let us put our arrows to our bows and point towards Guha, to make sure that if Guha tries to make any movement, we will kill him." So Guha's soldiers started circumambulating behind the bushes, unknown to Guha. All of them had their arrows pointed towards Guha. So the scene in the forest was very interesting. The only two people in the forest who were sleeping peacefully was Sita and Ram. Lakshman was circumambulating, alert, with a sword in hand. Guha was behind with the arrow pointed at Lakshman, and Guha's soldiers were circumambulating with their arrows pointed at Guha. Sita and Ram were sleeping peacefully. All the servants were in anxiety. So therefore, we find that in Ramayan, this reality is brought about. And what is the reality? That when there is rumor, and that rumor originated from Manthara. And why did it originate from Manthara? Because the demigods inspired it. And why the demigods inspired? Because the demigods are invited Ram to kill Ravana. After marriage, Ram was spending several years peacefully with Sita. And they were enjoying life together. And the demigods were wondering, if he continues enjoying like this, he may forget our mission, that he is supposed to kill Ravana. So ultimately, it was invoked by them. But the point made is, Manthara, she agitates by creating rumors. So the interesting point is, for 60,000 years, no armies could defeat Ayodhya. No army could defeat Ayodhya, but Manthara's rumors destroyed Ayodhya. So rumor is more powerful than armor. And without fighting with a single weapon, the whole of Ayodhya was disturbed. So therefore, Lakshman here represents one who's totally dedicated to Lord Ram, and he has taken a vow, I will never sleep all through the night. I will always be available to serve the lotus feet of Lord Ram 24/7. But then, when Sita is in the forest, and then there is a loud call made by, Sita gets distracted by seeing that deer. And Sita tells Ram, go and get that deer. And Lord Ram goes behind that deer. And then suddenly, Lakshman and Sita hear the sound. Oh Lakshman, oh Sita. And Sita says to Lakshman, this is Ram's voice. He's in distress. Please go. Lakshman says, there is no problem at all. This is some demon's voice. Sita says, no, you must go. Says, no, this is demon's voice. And Sita says, I know why you don't want to go, because you want to enjoy with me. And Lakshman becomes totally heartbroken. And then he makes a line to protect Sita and then goes. And when he goes there, he knows he should not be going, but because Sita has chastised him so badly, when he goes to the other side, Lord Ram looks at him and says, why did you come here? You were given the task of guarding Sita. You're not supposed to come here. And when Lakshman is chastised by Ram, Sita questioned Lakshman's character and Lord Ram questioned Lakshman's competence. So if someone's character and competence both are questioned, what remains? So Lakshman could have easily said, between you both, husband and wife, just handle this situation, I am retiring. You continue in the forest, I am going back and sending Bharat, and we will make a schedule. I can't handle serving, continuously like this. But then Lakshman continued serving. So the circumstances in which he continued was that it was extremely difficult, very challenging. When Srila Prabhupada was in Sitakant Banerjee Lane in Kolkata, on the first floor of his house, the Gaudiya Math devotees were being taught Harinamamrita Vyakaran by this disciple of Srila Saraswati Thakur, whose name was Dol Govinda Shastri. Srila Prabhupada was sitting on the staircase between the ground floor and the first floor, chanting his rounds, and Dol Govinda Shastri gave a lecture and came out and sat next to Srila Prabhupada and spoke to him, and he said, I just gave a talk on Prithvi Tyache Jotunnagaradigram Sarvatra Prachara Hoibe Moranam. In every town and village the holy name will spread, but I don't know how it will ever happen. Prabhupada got up, took 2 steps down, turned and pointed his fingers to Dol Govinda Shastri, and he said, if Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has made that prediction, it must happen. Then Prabhupada took 2 steps down further, and pointing to Dol Govinda Shastri, he said, someday a fool who surrendered at the lotus feet of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur will make it happen. And Dol Govinda Shastri started thinking, will it be me? Because he was also Saraswati Thakur disciple. Prabhupada took 2 steps down further, turned around and pointed to Dol Govinda Shastri and said, it will not be you. And Dol Govinda Shastri started thinking, hey, what does Abhay Babu think he's going to do or what? So at that point, nobody could imagine that Srila Prabhupada would actually make it happen. But Prabhupada said that the greatest asset which a devotee possesses is the desire and the instructions of the Vaishnavas. Murkhani chakshudramoi bishaya lalas Vaishnavagya bole kore etek sahas. Kaviraj Goswami says, I am murkha, I am foolish. Neecha, I am fallen. Kshudra, I am insignificant. Vishaya lalas, I am engaged in sense gratification. But Vaishnavagya bole. But I have faith in the instructions of the Vaishnavas. That is my strength. Eteka sahas. And therefore, I have I have taken the risk of engaging in writing this literature. So that's a very, very important principle, that when we are engaged in devotional service, the greatest asset we have is the desire, the instruction of the devotees. And by that, unlimited things can manifest. Prabhupada was trying to preach in Jhansi. He gave one of the books to his friend. The book was Easy Journey to Other Planets. The friend said, "What will I get by reading this book?" This was when Prabhupada was still a Grihastha. Prabhupada said, "If you read this book, you will go to Golok Vrindavan, spiritual world." The friend said, "After going to Golok, can I come back to Jhansi?" Prabhupada said, "No, that's not possible." So he said, "Then I am not interested." So Prabhupada, he realized that the world needs this knowledge. So he spent significant time writing these books. So when devotees were distributing the books, people were asking, "Can we have, the famous book on psychoanalysis? I am okay, you are okay." So the devotees who were distributing books came to Prabhupada and said, "Srila Prabhupada, when we show people Bhagavad Gita, they ask us, we don't want Bhagavad Gita, we want I am okay, you are okay. What should we respond?" Prabhupada said, "Show them the Bhagavad Gita and say, this Gita is I am okay, you are not okay." And you need to understand the difference between body and soul. I was trying to give prasadam to one young college student. This college student immediately responded saying, no, I don't want. I said, "Arey Baba, what's the problem? Mahaprasad you can take. What is the problem with prasad?" He said, "No, I'm afraid if I take the prasad, my hairstyle will become like yours." So people have this fear without the proper knowledge of what devotional service is all about. And therefore, Lakshman means one who is Lakshmi Sampanna, one who is filled with the Lakshmi of devotional service. What does Bharata mean? Bharata means Bharavahi iti Bharata. Bharavahi means one who is willing to tolerate. One who is willing to tolerate all kinds of difficult circumstances and situations. He is Bharata. One who is willing to carry the load, bhara, of misunderstanding, of criticism, of false accusations, of questioning of intention. All of these create a heavy load on our emotions. Bharata had nothing to do with this conspiracy. But the Acharyas say Bharat's greatest mistake was after the marriage, he left Lord Ram's association and went to his grandfather's house. If you make choices in life which take you away from the association of devotees, there will be certain ramifications. And because Bharat was not there, nobody could stop Kaikeyi from her nefarious ideas. And therefore, in the association of devotees, transformation happens. Srila Prabhupada established ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, to provide Vaishnava Sangha, association, by which transformation can happen. One of our devotees joined the ashram. His father became very upset. He came to the temple and said, "Why is my son joining at this age? When he is my age, that time he should be joining." So the president said, "Okay, let the son go, you join." Father said, "Okay, let me go home and come back tomorrow. Ask at home." Next day he came and he said, "Let my son continue." So that association is the beginning of transforming habits. And therefore, Bharat left the association of Ram. So there may be various opportunities we may get, which may be very tempting. And those opportunities may appear to be more powerful, more alluring than the association of devotees. And we may think, what is this association of devotees? Who are these people? Who knows about them? But Krishna understands the value of the devotees. And therefore, never underestimate the power of the Vaishnava Sangha and the power of the cumulative blessings of the Vaishnavas. Vaishnavera gunagrahi na dekhai dosh, koi mane vakye kore Vaishnava santosh. Do not see the faults in the Vaishnavas. See the good qualities. Satisfy the devotees. Just imagine Bharat is in such a situation where he had nothing to do with Kaikeyi's conspiracy. But when Bharat comes into the palace, every resident of the palace is looking at Bharat with suspicious eyes. Kaushalya accuses Bharat of being a conspirator. Almost every resident of Ayodhya is convinced Bharat is a conspirator. Guha suspects Bharat to be a conspirator. Bharadwaj Rishi considers Bharat to be a conspirator. Lakshman is convinced Bharat is a conspirator. And when Bharat Maharaj goes to offer fire to the dead body of his father Dasharath Maharaj, to offer the funeral pyre, suddenly Vasishtha stops him, holds his hand and says, "Bharat, you cannot offer the last rites." Bharat says, "Why? Eldest Ram is not there. I am the next eldest." Vasishtha says, "I am sorry. But before dying, Dasharath Maharaj expressed his last will." Bharat says, "What is that?" Vasishtha says, Dasharath Maharaj mentioned that along with Kaikeyi, Bharat Maharaj is a villain. He's a sinful soul. He's a conspirator. He's my enemy. He's so sinful. Do not allow his sinful hand, his sinful body, his sinful shadow to touch me. At no cost should Bharat offer my last rites. Saying this, cursing you, your father departed. Just imagine, Bharat has to live his whole life with the load of this thought that his father departed without understanding him fully. Father departed thinking he is responsible for this. And the worst part is Bharat does not have an opportunity to clarify and express his side of the story. That is called bhara or heavy. It's a heavy load. To be surrounded by people who are constantly suspicious of you and cast aspersions on your character. They question your intentions and integrity. Very difficult. It is suffocating. It chokes you. You can't stay there. But Lord Ram says, Bharat, you have to administer the kingdom of Ayodhya. You have to be the king of citizens who all hate you to the core. Administer them for 14 years. Bharat would get up at 1 o'clock in the morning. Take a bath early morning before the citizens would get up. Why? Because if the citizens saw Bharat, they would pick up stones and hit Bharat. They would hit Bharat with stones and attack him. That is why he had to go early in the morning. For 14 years, he was administering. But one good thing he did, whenever anybody would come to deposit tax, he would take it. Whenever someone would come with demand for expense, he would say, ask Lord Ram's paduka, his feet, his shoes. And that way, in the 14 years, the economy of Ayodhya grew 8 times. But Bharat Maharaj had to administer such a kingdom. So therefore he is known as Bharata. Bharavahi iti Bharata. One who is willing to tolerate difficult circumstances, knowing that these circumstances will change in due course of time. And therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Matra sparshastu kaunteya shita ushna sukha dukha daha agama paino anityas tantitikshasva bharata. The most hope-giving word in this verse is agama apaino anitya. It is temporary. The cause of our distress is we expect every interaction of our senses with sense objects to be pleasurable. But it can be pleasurable or painful, so we have to tolerate. So Bharata represents tolerance. Lakshman represents service attitude. When I joined the ashram, I was given seva in the kitchen. So I was serving in the kitchen. One more brahmachari joined, he was also sent to the kitchen. I saw he is well built, muscular, so I thought he'll be good at making chapatis. So I told him, you make the chapatis. After 1 week he came and complained to me. He said, you don't know my talent. When I stand and give lecture in my village, the whole village stands up. I am a famous orator. I came to ISKCON to preach Sanatan Dharma, not to roll chapatis. You understand? So I said, why you are telling me? I am also rolling chapati only. There is no point you and me talking. Go and inform the in charge. He said, no, if I tell him, he will give another lecture. After 1 week, again he came. Again he said, you guys don't understand what is my talent. I joined ISKCON to give lecture, not to roll chapatis. After 1 month he left. While going he told the same dialogue and went. I didn't come to roll chapatis. 10 years later I met him at a program. He came running to me and said, after I left I got married. After marriage, my wife got back pain, and now every day at home, I am only making chapatis. So you may navigate your situations thinking, let me avoid this situation, let me avoid that situation, let me avoid that situation. But you have to tolerate. Without that, nothing works. Ami briddha jarator likhite ka payakar man kichu smarane na hoy. That's what Kaviraj Goswami is saying. I'm so old, still I'm writing Chaitanya Charitamrita. Tolerating, so that I can do this seva. So the third brother is Shatrughna. Shatrughna basically literally means one who has killed his enemy. But Shatrughna's entire life, he killed one demon whose name was Lavanasur. It's too much to call someone. If somebody has distributed only one small book and you call him, his book distribution personified. So it will be too much. He may even think it is sarcastic. So why is Shatrughna called Shatrughna? He conquered the enemy within. What is that Shatru? Ego. The greatest enemy in service is ego. So therefore, Shatrughna Nitya Shatrughna Nitah Priti Puraskritah. Bharat could pick up Shatrughna anytime and take him with him, because he knew Shatrughna would never protest, because Shatrughna's will was aligned with Bharat's will. So Lakshman served Bhagavan, but Shatrughna served Vaishnav. And he served such a Vaishnav who was under suspicion in the entire Ayodhya. Bharat was highly unpopular, but Shatrughna continued serving him. And therefore, Shatrughna is considered to be very exalted because he is humility personified. So therefore, to conquer over the false ego which makes us feel that I am special or I am something, when we are able to conquer over that false ego, then we gradually are able to experience humility. So therefore, Shatrughna represents the quality of humility. Bharat Maharaj represents the quality of tolerance. Lakshman represents the quality of service attitude. So all of these three together, they are engaged in serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ram, who is all attractive, and Ram means ocean of pleasure. And when they serve the ocean of pleasure, in that mood of service, they experience reciprocation. And that's what the Ramayan is teaching us. That life will be full of ups and downs, positives and negatives. But in both prosperity and adversity, let us continue serving the Supreme Lord in all circumstances. Lakshman served Lord Ram in an ecosystem of popularity. Bharat served Ram in a climate of suspicion and unpopularity and accusation. But both continued their service. So the service must be continued in both prosperity and adversity. And that's the message of Ramayan. And I am thankful to ISKCON of Brooklyn, for giving me a chance to share a few words on Ramayan with all of you on the occasion of Dashara. Thank you all very much.